Hi kitty cats. My last video stated that gender dysphoria is caused by social norms, which begs two additional questions. First, is gender dysphoria voluntary? If the pressure comes from outside, can't we just ignore the haters or even learn to love ourselves unconditionally? And second, is gender dysphoria only socially derived discomfort? Is the internal sense of being born in the wrong body just a bunch of hooey? Well, the answer to both questions is no. And I want to fill in the gaps from the last video to explain the relationship among our values, our social environment, and gender dysphoria. The human experience is both internal and external in nature. In fact, the two are interrelated. They represent a complex of experiences, including physical, psychological, and social. I'll deal more thoroughly with the complex in a future video, but right now let me say a quick word about what voluntary means. Queer people, like I am, must fight daily to be recognized as valid humans. I've experienced this my whole life, and I don't dismiss how difficult it is. Anti-queer rhetoric states explicitly that sex is objective, gender is objective, sexuality is objective. They're supposedly based in hard science and easily determined at birth. Although demonstrably inaccurate, this rhetoric leads to the misconception that anything that sounds like science is necessarily true and ethically unassailable. The fallacy in this approach is that science doesn't explain the cisgender heterosexual experience either. Yet the queer community leaps at any evidence of a queer gene or a queer brain structure or a queer biochemistry that could provide an ethically unassailable justification to be the people we are. Do we have a choice in whether we experience gender dysphoria? The answer is no. And yes. Gender dysphoria plays on the relationship between involuntary knowledge of self and the human-made ethics imposed by our social environment. So, let's talk about where our knowledge of self begins. Identity must come from somewhere because we know we experience it. So where does it come from? The theory of identity I developed postulates an origin of identity. Each of us has a set of knowledge, our values, and we know they are true and right, but we don't know why we know them, and we don't know how we learned them. At some level, however, when we question this knowledge, when we ask why we value something, we can only answer because. And this isn't some new age woo-woo, it comes from observation. Question your values. When you go deep enough, you will observe your origin of identity in action. This is important because we do not choose these values, we know them to be true. We are born with these basic values, and they grow and evolve as we experience life. The things I know to be valuable range from physical structure to cognitive aspects to objects to abstractions. They encompass the entire human experience. And you may disagree with what I know to be valuable, but I can't tell you what to value just as you can't tell me what to value. So, let's look at how the origin of identity fuels gender dysphoria. As I said in my last video, your values are not right or wrong, dysphoric or euphoric. Your values are the product of your origin of identity and the experiences you had in life. But a social environment develops standards of value. These are social norms, and they add a judgment, right or wrong, to the knowledge you have about what's valuable to you. Now, this doesn't mean you're going to value what society says you should, but you are likely to question what you know is valuable to you. It's very difficult to fight against social norms. The dysphoria we feel is not because we know certain physical aspects or emotions or behavior are valuable to us. Gender dysphoria comes when the social environment actively judges our knowledge as wrong. We cannot choose against our own values, and we cannot choose the judgments of our social environment. And As a result, we cannot choose not to feel gender dysphoria from the clash between the two. But there is one more aspect of gender dysphoria to discuss, and those are the judgments we make against ourselves. My whole life, before I transitioned gender, during the process of transition, and still today, I judge myself against the standards of what I know to be valuable. Because I don't just value abstract femininity. I value a small waist with full hips, narrow shoulders as little triangles on women's faces, and thousands of other aspects of femininity in which I believe I fall short. But is that entirely true? Are there women out there with my height and build? Women with a similar voice and mannerisms? Women who walk the way I do and laugh the way I do? Yeah. And that really doesn't matter to me. Even though I've achieved what I know to be valuable, I apply judgments to how well I achieved them. I've observed people assigned female at birth, many people, because of books, magazines, the internet, social media. I developed my own beliefs on what is beautiful on top of what society finds beautiful. So I judge myself not only by what I know to be valuable, but by the pinnacle of beauty across all humanity. These are standards of value socially derived, but personally applied. Is that gender dysphoria? Yes, because what I've got either the social environment actively judges as wrong, or I actively judge as wrong. And in that way, I am like most women today. I criticize myself on standards I could never reach, no matter what sex I was assigned at birth. So, let's sum up from here. Human identity begins with a set of knowledge we have at birth. But each of us also must interact with humanity in our social environment. What we know we value is amoral. It is neither right nor wrong, it is simply true. But a social environment can't be all things for all people. Social norms develop as judgments on what should be valued by all members. But we do this on our own as well. What we value has shades to it. We apply judgments to determine how much we should value something. Can we choose whether or not to feel gender dysphoria? In most cases, no. What we value is true, no matter what the social environment values. Their judgment of our values hurts, and likely always will. In my last video, linked above, I said we feel pain when we know we can never attain the object of our desires. We may actually possess what we value, but we judge what we possess by standards that may not be realistic. And, realistic or otherwise, not getting what we desire hurts. Can we choose whether or not to feel that dysphoria? You tell me in the comments below. And if you're looking for more about the unrealistic standards transgender women are held to, check out these two videos, and then subscribe for more gender education from a human perspective. Talk soon. Bye.